It's January, which means for a lot of cyclists and triathletes, their training right now is being done on an indoor cycling trainer. It's boring, it's tedious, it doesn't really replicate in a lot of ways the same demand that we see outside, but it's a really useful tool, and it can replicate a lot of the specific demand that we face outside or that we're going to be facing in our races or in our training outside. So when we're riding indoors on an indoor cycling trainer, how do we ride? Unfortunately, in my experience, too many cyclists and too many triathletes do not engage in the behaviors on the indoor cycling trainer that they do when they're outside. They ride the trainer completely differently than they would if they were riding their bicycle outside. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that they do things like this: sit up, put their pelvis and their back and their head in a position that they would never do outside. Most people will not ride like this outside. They will take a remote and they'll adjust the TV, and they'll take their phone and they'll text. Or some folks, if they're on a time trial bike, will even type and do work on a laptop. And there's always going to be folks out there that'll justify those behaviors. But speaking from a strictly, are we preparing for the specific demand that we want to be getting ready for standpoint, the answer is those things don't help us. When we're riding indoors, we want to mimic the specific demand that we want to ultimately be able to execute as much as possible. And this means that we want to engage in as many behaviors on the trainer as we can that mirror the behaviors that we would do outside. The number one thing we can do is ride with one hand on the handlebars at all times. In the real world, it is exceedingly rare that somebody would take both hands off the handlebars at the same time. But we do take one hand off the handlebars. We do it to signal a turn. We do it to drink from a bottle. We do it to eat while we're on the bike. So one hand on the handlebars is great. And we also want to make sure that we're not taking our phone out and texting, that we're not responding to emails. If you are going to do that during an indoor cycling workout, treat it the same way as you would outside. Stop pedaling. Get off the bike and then do it. But if you're going to be on the bike and doing that, again, that does not replicate what you will be doing outside. You will never be texting and not looking down the trail or down the road. And if we do this, we set ourselves up for such a successful training season. Too many athletes every year tell me that when they transition from indoor to outdoor riding in the spring, that they feel like they've never ridden a bicycle before. And when we think about it, if they've been riding indoors for 5 to 6 months, which is what most athletes need to do over the winter, if they've been riding indoors for 5 to 6 months without any thought for how what they've been doing is going to set them up for success outdoors, if they have been sitting up on a recovery interval or when they're tired, if they have been putting their drinks on a table or a bench next to them instead of practicing taking bottles from their bottle cages, it is like they're riding a bike for the first time when they're going outside, or at least the first time in a really long time. And that adaptation can take a long time to get back used to riding outside and engaging in those behaviors. And we want to try to reduce that. So when you're indoors, think about, what is it that I would be doing outdoors? Would I be doing this thing outside? And if the answer is no, think long and hard before you continue engaging in that behavior. We just really want to set ourselves up for success in training our muscles and our mind and our body to maintain our bike fit, to stay in this position, to get used to it, to train our pelvis to be on the saddle in this position. Those are really good things. And that's how we should be riding indoors when we're training over the winter.